If you're experiencing difficulty in finding and hiring great staff, then you should stay tuned for this next tip. We're going to go over the 3 things that you can do to find and hire great staff. Thanks for tuning in to this tip. My name is Jeff. I am the new client service executive here at MGE, and we're going to go over the 3 things that you can do right now to find and hire some great staff. Okay, step 1. When I talk to doctors, inevitably, everybody's looking for somebody who's been in the dental profession. They're setting their restrictions on who they could hire by putting in some arbitrary requirements. And they do things with 5 years of experience, have to know practice management software, should know some basic dental terms. And really all that is doing is limiting your pool. So your first step is to expand your potential hiring population. To do that, you have to get rid of some of the restrictions. I personally have been doing this for 10 years. I ran a large office. I hired 30, 40, 50 people more. And honestly, there was only a few things that were positive by hiring somebody who had dental experience. Positive number 1, maybe they knew the practice management software. And that's great, like that's amazing. And for a lot of the doctors sometimes that are not exposed to the practice management software all the time, it can seem confusing and it might be hard to use. And if I'm gonna get somebody in and I have to train them how to do that, it's gonna be difficult, it's gonna take blah, 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 blah. But honestly, guys, the practice management software these days, they come with their own tutorials, they come with their own videos. They're very easy to learn on. And the generation that you're hiring, they're generation technology. I mean, they were born with a cell phone. They don't even know what a real phone is that was connected to a wall. When I would sit down staff in front of a computer and show them the software, it was like any other basic graphic user interface they've used on any other computer, and they figured it out pretty fast. So that kind of, went to the wayside where I was like, well, they know practice management software. Positive number 2, they might know some dental terms or some basics of a scheduling process. It's like, okay, those might be the 2 positives. Fine. But then what we did was we excluded all the people that I could have trained on those 2 basic systems of my practice that would have made them great employees. So by taking away some arbitraries in requirements for the positions, now you can't take away all of them. There are some positions in the practice that do require licensure. And for those, yes, we need that. But even in some states, you can do some dental assisting, you could do some surgical assisting, as long as you're not doing certain activities, or maybe you could do all of them and not be licensed. So I want you to really start to think of what could I remove as an arbitrary that's restricting the amount of people that could potentially put in an application for this position. So look through your hiring requirements. If it's something like practice management software, 5 years of experience, get rid of it. We're looking for somebody who's willing. And if I get somebody who's willing, I'll train them to do the rest. So step number 1, be willing to look outside of the dental profession. Mostly when I hired from the dental profession, all I ever hired were other practices' bad habits. And then I'd have to spend a lot of time stripping out bad habits and putting in my own. Well, if I was going to do that, I might as well hire somebody blank slate, and give them their own training, okay? So big step 1, expand your population pool for who could potentially put in an application for this position. All right, now step 2, a big one. Oh my goodness. So I cannot tell you how many times I talk to practices and I ask them, do you have policies? Do you have procedures? Do you have manuals? Do you have training? No, I don't have any of that. And so here we've got somebody at the practice, an office manager who lost their front desk, and they want to get a new front desk in, and they want to be done with answering the phone. They want to be done with routing phone calls. They want to be done with taking messages. But when they hire somebody who is willing or is halfway decent and could have been a good receptionist or insurance coordinator or scheduler or whatever other position we have, we gave them absolutely no training materials in writing that they could refer back to so they could kind of debug themselves. And so step 2, you must have what I like to call mini training manuals. And let me give you an example of this. So as a receptionist at my office, every phone system is different. And people that have answered phones, they know that. Some phone systems, you put somebody on hold and the light blinks. Some phone systems, you put them on hold and you got to park them to a number, and then you got to know what number to pick up. Some phone systems, when you transfer it, it's automatically with the person on the other phone. Sometimes it's not, and the list goes on and on. It can be very confusing. And all too often what I would see happen, and I did it myself, is I'd get somebody in. I'd say, okay, I'm going to show you how to use the phone. Do you know how to use the phone? They'd go, okay, great. And then I'd leave. And then it would be a mess, a disaster. And then I'd have to come back and be like, okay, let's do this. So finally what I did was I took the phone, took some pictures, and I made a 2-page manual of the basics of the phone. And it was mostly picture-driven, guys. And I'd get this receptionist in, and I'd say, okay, we're going to spend a half hour, we're going to go through the phone. I'm going to go through the buttons, how they work. And I had an extra phone, or I had one sitting there. It was fine. So I'd go through this. It'd take about a half hour to read it. And then I would check them out on it. Do they know everything? I'd say, okay, now show me how to pick up the phone. Great. Show me how to put somebody on hold. Great. Show me how to transfer a phone call. Good. Now, imagine you're already on the phone and another phone call comes in. Show me how to put that one on hold. Where would it be? How do you? And I put them through this process, all from this mini training manual that I had. It was gold, because then I gave it to them. They could transfer it back, or they could always look back to it if there was something they didn't understand or something they needed a little bit more clarification on, or if they just wanted to see how to do it again. But if I never gave that to them, they could never go back to it. And it inevitably led to dropped phone calls. It led to, phone calls going to the wrong person, how to transfer, lines, all these other things. So a mini manual of the bare basics of what this person needs is essential to bring anybody onto a new position. Not just brand new people who have no experience, but even people that, might have some experience in the industry and now they're coming in. You need to have that, otherwise you will never, ever, ever be free of doing the thing you hired this person to do. So start with a mini manual. It shouldn't take you long. It'll take you maybe a half hour, maybe an hour to write up. Pictures now with your iPhone, transfer, put it on a Word document, done, okay? You could do that with any position. I used to do that with my surgical tray setups. I used to take pictures of them, mark them all up. What are the instruments? Where do they go? You can train staff with these mini manuals that can make them effective with 90% of the job, that allows you then to do the next part of it, okay? So step 2 is create some mini manual for the position that you're looking to hire, and make sure it's thorough. Could someone go through that mini manual and do 90% of what you hired them to do, the most important parts of that job? If so, you've got it, okay? So that's step 2. All right, step 3. You've done all the hard work. All too often, what do we see? We see set it and forget it. You cannot do that. There has to be some sort of apprenticeship. You have to sit there and watch them. Trust me, it's worth your time. I know that you want to stop setting up trays. I know that you want to stop breaking down rooms. I know that you don't want to be the person who's doing sterilization and scheduling. I get all that, and you've been doing it for a while, and we're double-hatted and doing multiple positions, and we're doing all these other things. But you have to take your time here. Apprentice the person. So what I would do, and I always talk about reception because it's probably the most turned over position in a practice, the admin team. I would give them that mini manual, and I'd make them watch me. I would continue to pick up the phone, route the phone calls, take the messages. Really, they weren't doing much for the first day, maybe 2 days. I'm just making sure that they understand. I'm asking them questions. I'm letting them watch. And you know what they would do? Why'd you do that? Oh, that's something I got to add to the mini manual. I didn't think about it. Well, that's not in here, And I would pick up little things that I actually didn't put in there that I thought might be helpful. So I let them watch. Good. Now, once I go, you got this? They go, yeah, I feel pretty good about it. Go, okay, good. Now I'm going to watch them. And that was the apprenticeship of really starting to create great staff members. I would watch them. Maybe I'd watch them for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days, whatever it took for me to feel comfortable leaving them at that position, knowing that they could do 90% of it, and every once in a while they might have to come and get me, have a question maybe that I didn't write up there, and it was too advanced for them to handle anyway. So step 3, it's a big one, apprentice your new hires. Do not set it and forget it. I know it's easy to think that we got relief and someone is here to help us, but they're actually not help yet. They could be a huge hindrance if you do not do the process of training them on the manual and then making sure they can do it, called apprenticeship, okay? It doesn't have to take long, but do it. You do those three things. Expand your population pool of people that you could potentially hire. Give them a mini training manual and then make sure they're doing it. You are going to start to create great staff. So those are my 3 tips. Thanks for watching. Check below for some downloads that could help you with the hiring process and some things that you can do to better write up your manuals and apprentice your new staff. Also, if you're interested in a practice consultation or an evaluation, or you just want to talk, I'm going to put my link down there. You can book on it, book time on my schedule. I would love to hear from you. And I look forward to your response and your comments. And don't forget to click subscribe if you want to see more tips like this. Again, thanks for tuning in.